Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions. The first thing I noticed was the missing toothbrush. Not hers, mine. It was gone from the holder like it had never been there. Like I'd been erased in tiny, quiet ways. The space on the sink was empty, too clean, like someone had wiped away a name. I didn't say anything that morning. I just stood there, staring at the ceramic cup, half asleep, holding my breath, as if maybe it would reappear if I looked hard enough. But I already knew. I knew something had shifted, and not just inside that bathroom. Later that night, she stood by the kitchen counter, scrolling on her phone. I asked if she wanted tea. She didn't answer. She just turned her head slightly and said, without looking at me, "Don't touch me tonight." She said it like she was reading off a receipt, like it was a scheduled announcement I should have expected. I stood there holding the mug, feeling heat on my fingers but cold everywhere else. Something about that sentence, "Don't touch me tonight." It wasn't just rejection. It was the final thread snapping. But I didn't argue. I didn't ask why. I just nodded, said okay, and I sat on the edge of the bed that night, fully dressed, staring at her back as she fell asleep like I wasn't even real. The next morning, I was gone. No suitcases. No drama. No keys on the table. Just a quiet goodbye written on the steamed-up mirror after my shower. I won't touch what doesn't want me. And yet, that wasn't the end. Because what she did next, what she thought I wouldn't notice, unraveled everything. The toothbrush was just the beginning. I didn't plan to check her phone. I swear. I'd left the house to give her space, not to snoop. But when I came back 2 days later to grab a few things I forgot, my passport, some old journals, and a box of receipts for taxes, I noticed her phone buzzing on the kitchen counter. She was in the shower. The screen lit up. Again and again. I should have walked away. But curiosity, or maybe that sick feeling in my gut that something wasn't right, pulled me in. The name on the screen didn't say David, or Rachel, or workgroup chat. It said, "You know who, smirking face." I don't know why that stung so badly. Maybe because of the emoji. Maybe because I'd never seen that contact name before. Maybe because I was still stupid enough to hope it was nothing. That hope lasted 3 seconds. The message read, "Was he still begging last night? Or did you finally tell him you're done?" And then another, "Can't wait till you're free. You deserve more than that guilt sponge." Guilt sponge. That's what I was to her. A thing that absorbed her resentment and took up space in the bed. I felt frozen. I couldn't breathe. My heart pounded in my ears like someone banging on a locked door. And for the first time in my life, I felt like an unwanted ghost in my own home. Not angry. Not betrayed. Just erased. She came out of the bathroom a few minutes later, humming, wrapped in a towel. She didn't see me at first. When she did, she blinked like she'd seen an echo of someone who used to live there. "You're back?" she asked, drying her hair like this was normal. "I forgot my passport," I said. I didn't mention the phone. I couldn't. She looked relieved. Not that I was there, that I was leaving again. And that's when it clicked. She was done. She'd been done long before that night. She just hadn't said it out loud yet. But he knew. He was already celebrating the finish line, the one I hadn't even realized we were racing toward. I thought I was prepared for the next time I returned. I told myself it was just to grab the last few things. Charger, shaving kit, my old sketch pad I hadn't touched in 2 years. But walking through that front door again felt like entering someone else's life. The living room had changed. The throw blanket I always used was gone. The framed photo of us from Sedona, replaced with an abstract painting I'd never seen before. It was like she'd already begun erasing me from the narrative. I didn't call out her name. I didn't want to talk. I just wanted the bedroom to get what I came for and leave. But when I opened the nightstand drawer, mine, on my side of the bed, I noticed something strange. It was heavier than usual. I knew that drawer like the back of my hand. Old receipts, loose pens, expired meds. But now there was something new. At the bottom, buried under an envelope and a few foreign coins, was a small velvet box. I froze. It looked like the kind of box you get from a jewelry store. And when I opened it, I swear my hands trembled. Inside was a gold bracelet, delicate, thin, expensive looking. Not my style. Certainly not hers either. I'd never seen it before. There was a tiny engraved plate attached to it. It read, "For the night you finally choose you." My heart dropped. I don't know what was worse, that she'd hidden it in my drawer, or that she was planning a moment for someone else. A moment I wasn't invited to. It felt theatrical, like a prop waiting for a performance I wasn't part of. I sat on the edge of the bed, bracelet in hand. as her laughter echoed from the living room. She was on the phone. I didn't need to guess who she was talking to. I didn't hear his words, but hers were clear enough. No, not yet. But I'm close. He's slipping away like I hoped. I think he finally got the message. I put the bracelet back. Carefully. Quietly. Closed the drawer like I hadn't touched it. But everything inside me had shifted. I wasn't just slipping away. Now, I was planning to disappear entirely. I told myself I wouldn't go back again. After finding the bracelet and hearing her on the phone, I swore that was it. But 2 days later, I was still restless, pacing in my motel room, replaying every conversation we'd had for the past year, searching for the moment she stopped loving me. I didn't go back to confront her. I went back because I realized something was missing. Not from my drawer this time, from our shared office upstairs. A folder. A single manila folder where we kept our shared travel receipts, mostly for taxes. It sounds stupid, but I needed it. Needed to feel like at least something still belonged to both of us. I parked 3 houses down. I don't even know why. Maybe shame, maybe instinct. Her car was there. So was another one, silver, unfamiliar, parked half on the curb. I knocked, waited. No answer. The house was quiet. When I stepped inside, I heard music. Low, instrumental, playing from the upstairs speaker, something jazzy, with no vocals. I called her name once. Nothing. I went straight to the office. The folder was in the drawer, right where it should be. But when I pulled it out, another item fell to the floor. A hotel key card inside a small black sleeve. Embossed on it in gold letters. Granville Suites, room 214. No date, no receipt, no context. Except I had context. 2 weekends ago, she told me she had a conference in Detroit. She left early Friday morning and came back late Sunday night. Said it was boring, all lectures and networking. I even texted her while she was there. She replied with a picture of a half-eaten salad and said, "Wish you were here, but it's nothing exciting." Now I knew why the salad looked staged. Now I knew why her return felt like a stranger walking through the door. I left the folder but took the key card. Not out of spite, out of curiosity. I needed to see it. I needed to know what kind of room you book when you're cheating on your husband and pretending it's a conference. That night, I drove 112 miles to the Granville Suites. When I asked the receptionist for a copy of my lost invoice, she didn't even blink. Just printed it off. Room 214. 2 guests. 1 king bed. 2 nights. Minibar charge. Late checkout. And her name right there on the reservation. I didn't knock. I didn't have to. The receptionist gave me a spare key card without even glancing up, like this kind of thing happened every day. By the time I got to the 2nd floor, my hands were slick with sweat, and my heart was hammering so loudly I was sure people in the hallway could hear it. Room 214 was at the far end, tucked behind an ice machine. The carpet there was darker, worn down by years of secret footsteps. When I slid the card in, the light blinked green with a soft click, like it was giving me permission to see something I couldn't unsee. The room smelled faintly of perfume I didn't recognize and expensive soap. Everything was pristine except for the faintest trace on the nightstand. A forgotten hair tie, pale blue. Not hers. She never wore that color. It sat next to a small crumpled note. Hotel stationery, torn at the edges. There was only one line written in blue ink. Next time, no guilt. The handwriting wasn't hers either. I'd memorized her loops and slants long ago. I didn't touch anything else. I just stood in the middle of the room, feeling like an intruder in a life I'd paid for but never lived. The king bed was made perfectly, the kind of sterile neatness only hotel staff can manage, but the pillows still bore the faint indent of heads. The window overlooked the parking lot. I could see my own car below, tiny and pathetic against the asphalt, like a witness. I thought I'd feel rage. I didn't. I felt hollow, like my ribs had been scooped out. It wasn't just that she'd lied. It was that she'd built an entire world I wasn't part of, and she'd done it so cleanly that even the crumbs were swept away. Except for this room. This was the first real trace of the life she'd been living while I was still believing in anniversaries. I took a photo of the hair tie, the note, and the room number. Then I left. No scene. No accusations. I didn't even close the door quietly. I just let it fall shut behind me and walked down the hallway, past the ice machine, past the receptionist, out into the freezing night. When I sat in my car, staring at the steering wheel, a question hit me so hard it almost knocked the air out of my lungs. If she was this careful, what else had she hidden? The next morning, I made a decision I didn't recognize myself making. It didn't feel like me. The quiet guy who avoided confrontation, who apologized even when he wasn't wrong, who waited for his turn in everything, even in pain. But something had shifted in me after room 214. I wasn't just grieving anymore. I was beginning to detach. I went home, not to move back in. That version of our life had already bled out. I just wanted to observe, to see if she'd pretend nothing happened. When I walked through the door, she was sitting at the kitchen table, typing something on her laptop with a half smile I hadn't seen in months. She looked up, startled. "You scared me," she said. "I forgot something," I lied. "A jacket." She nodded, polite but nervous. "It's on the hook, I think." I walked past her but didn't go to the hook. I opened the hall closet instead. Inside, between my old winter coats and a broken vacuum, was her travel suitcase, the one she'd taken on her supposed business trip. I pulled it out. "Emery, what are you doing?" she asked. I unzipped the case slowly. It still had folded laundry inside, but it wasn't her usual things. There was lingerie I'd never seen, a men's shirt, cologne, a receipt from a bar in the same hotel, dated the exact night of her conference. I didn't say a word. I just handed it all to her, one by one. Her face drained of color. "You went through my things." I found room 214. Her hands trembled, but her mouth moved faster than her shame. "You don't get to spy on me and act like the victim." That was her defense. Not denial, not regret, just shifting the blame to me. The man who hadn't touched her, who had quietly left when she said she didn't want him, who'd waited for her to just be honest. She stood, furious now, like I'd betrayed her. I needed space. I needed to feel alive again. "You wouldn't understand." And that's when I said it, not out of anger, but complete exhaustion. You didn't need space. You needed someone who wasn't me. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. After our confrontation in the hallway, she didn't follow me when I walked out. That was the part that stung the most. She just stood there, holding the open suitcase like I'd left her with trash. There were no tears, no guilt, just annoyance, like I'd ruined a casual weekend plan. I didn't go far, just around the corner to an old diner we used to visit after grocery shopping. It felt ironic. The same vinyl booth where she once cried over a bad work review was now where I sat, alone, staring at the cracked menu I already knew by heart. I wasn't hungry. I ordered coffee just to buy time. And that's when I remembered something. A tiny, seemingly insignificant conversation from a month ago. She'd mentioned she was having dinner soon with a mentor from her old firm, a man named Miles. She'd said it casually, in passing, while brushing her teeth. I hadn't thought about it since. But now, suddenly, I did. I pulled up her LinkedIn, something I'd never done before. Miles was real. Older. Married. 2 kids. Lots of praise in his endorsements. Empathetic leader. Trustworthy communicator. I checked the company website. And that's when I froze. He was based in Chicago. She never worked in Chicago. I dug further, pulling up my email receipts. That same week she claimed she was having dinner with her mentor. I had ordered her a rideshare, because her car had been in the shop. The ride history still sat in my inbox. She never went to the steakhouse she told me about. She went to the airport. I had the timestamp, the address, and even the return trip logged. And she had told me she got food poisoning that night and stayed over at her coworker's place because it was closer to the office. I even texted to check on her. She replied, "Don't wait up. I just need to sleep this off." But she hadn't slept. She'd flown out. And that changed everything. This wasn't just one hotel. This wasn't just room 214. This was bigger, planned. A double life that stretched further than I could have imagined. I never confronted her about the flight. Never mentioned the airport, the rideshare receipts, or the name Miles. Not because I was afraid, but because I finally realized something. I didn't need another confession. I already had the truth. I'd been sleeping beside it for months. The moment I let that sink in, a strange calm washed over me. It wasn't peace, not yet. But it was something sturdier than rage. The kind of calm you feel when you stop fighting a storm and just decide to get out of the rain. I moved my things out a week later. Quietly, with help from a friend who asked no questions. I didn't yell. I didn't throw accusations. I didn't even ask her why. She watched me pack, arms crossed, expecting some final dramatic goodbye, but I gave her nothing. Not because I had nothing left to say, but because she no longer deserved the last word. 2 months have passed. I got a small place of my own, nothing fancy, but it's mine. I've started running again, reading, cooking for one, and weirdly liking it. I even adopted a rescue dog named Otis, who doesn't care what I've lost, only that I take him on long walks and keep peanut butter on hand. I thought I'd feel broken forever. But here's the truth. I wasn't broken. I was just buried under someone else's silence. And the day I stopped asking for love where it no longer lived was the day I started to heal. So no, I didn't destroy her life. I didn't take revenge. I didn't expose her affair to the world. I just left. And sometimes, that's the loudest kind of freedom. Thanks for watching Reddit Confessions. If you made it this far, tell us in the comments. Which moment in this story shocked you the most? The missing toothbrush, the hotel key, or the airport lie? We read every response, and your thoughts help others heal too. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back for more stories every day.